We're all a part of a global community. But what about neighbors helping neighbors? In Shreveport, Louisiana, that's more than just talk. September 1988, Shreveport, Louisiana. 20-year-old William David McKinney had been fatally shot by a white teenager. Racial tensions already simmering, boiled over. In the aftermath, anger, frustration, and pleas for change.
Shreveport is still a racist city. It's a divided city.
We're sitting on a powder keg in this community, and nobody wants to come to grips with it.
32 years later, that powder keg is exploding with yard signs that say simply, "We care." They're everywhere.
Everybody around here is like family. And that's what Neighbors is for, is to help one another.
Through the streets, back before COVID made things like this impossible,
These are my people, guys. These are my people.
white and black joined together to walk the neighborhood and pray for it.
And we know that you have the United States of America on your heart, Lord.
These were the scenes before George Floyd. And, well, Shreveport has been changed like just about every other city by his death.
So here was a gang.
What hasn't changed is the belief of a Shreveport pastor that communities torn down by bigotry and segregation and poverty can be built back up simply by neighbors caring for neighbors.
We can email people all over the world, and we don't know who's living and dying 4 houses away from us.
Mack McCarter invited us to Shreveport back in February.
All of the houses
All
are that.
over the place.
He's a proud native of this city. He left, though, to go to seminary and didn't return for years. But when he did, he set up shop in Allendale, the Bottoms, as some used to call it, a neighborhood long plagued by crime and drugs.
What did people think when they saw you walking down these streets?
Well, so I drove down and I thought, good heavens, I'm going to die. But I pulled over and stopped and then went up to their shotgun row house, knocked on the door and said, there's a group of us that believe if we'll get to be friends, then we can change this city. And not many doors open.
Not at first, but he kept knocking. And he started attending church in the area too, mingling with the congregation just like any neighbor might. And over time, something started to happen.
I saw friendship overcome our racial divide. I saw it overcome our socioeconomic divide. I saw it overcome the fact that we had been strangers. And for sure, I saw it overcome fear.
Bye, y'all. Love y'all.
The experience was so impactful that he set up a nonprofit called Community Renewal International.
How you doing?
It's a faith-based organization that's been making friends out of strangers for more than 25 years.
Well, hello there.
Lady.
How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good to see you, girl.
Good to see you. How's that baby? Good.
He hired those who believe as strongly as he did
All right, man, you in a hurry?
that an outstretched hand could work wonders.
If we don't do something to restore those relationships and restore that love from person to person, that America is going to collapse. We are going to fail.
Emmett and Sharpell Welch live in what's called a friendship house. It's one of 10 built in communities all around Shreveport. They're sort of part residence, part community setting. The goal here is to mentor, to solve problems internally, street by street.
All right, y'all make yourself at home, ladies. I'm good.
Government is not going to come down and model loving your neighbor to stressed and blighted neighborhoods. They can't do that. We have to do it.
The Welshes have taken in 7 children from the neighborhood,
Y'all are just amazing. No boyfriends in the house ever.
raising them as their own.
Thank you for the food we're about to receive.
That's what's happening on one side of the friendship house.
Are y'all ready?
The other side is open to anyone in the neighborhood who needs it. And those who show up the most
That would result in me being bullied.
are teens.
So your challenge is not to become what you despise.
This is a youth club that Emmett and Sharpell Welch run. It's hardly your average after-school program, though.
How many of you know somebody who's been arrested, is in jail, or in prison?
We spent time going to the local judicial system, getting kids out of handcuffs.
We were going to parent meetings. We were going to see the principal to put them back in school after suspension. We were just doing a lot of work.
I actually was a bully.
That kind of help is often rejected, but not when it comes from inside the community. That's what made the difference for LaKyra Burks.
We care about our community. We care about our neighbors. And if we didn't have those things, who would we lean on? My dad got killed when I was 2.
Tierney Turner has watched the stability that the Welshes have brought become infectious.
The whole inside of my life got changed. Introduced me to the world and what I can do better to not have that situation happen to me or my future husband or my family.
Since Community Renewal moved in, crime has moved out. It's dropped by more than half in Allendale. Graduation rates are up, and so is home ownership. Skeptical? Well, so's everybody.
Some people watching this are going to say, it's just too simple.
Just another fluffy
right?
program, yeah.
Not even fluffy, that it's got to be,
be more to it, yeah.
Right? Yeah.
And to those people, I dare them to try.
To try it. I get the cynical people. I will challenge them, and I have done it. Get to know everybody on your street. First name, last name, something about them that you didn't know before.
Human beings have faults and problems and heartaches, whether you're rich or poor.
McCarter has expanded the program into some of Shreveport's wealthiest neighborhoods.
I can tell you, where I was is not where I am now.
Paige Hoffpower lives in a community where stately homes line a private golf course.
It might look good, but that doesn't mean it is good.
She's not comparing her problems with anyone's, but she did realize that sometimes the only thing residents in this gated community had in common was the gate.
It's painful to live on a street and not know your neighbor.
Isolation can be a real thing, even in a crowded subdivision.
We just want to welcome you today to your own neighborhood, but just another house.
Yes, her block parties look a little different than the one in Allendale, but many of the same people were here, and they were here for the same reason.
Random acts of kindness, that's a great bumper sticker. It will not stop the disintegration of community. It has to be intentional acts of connected caring.
Mack McCarter is no pushover. He gets the idea is pretty hard to grasp.
Continue to rise to the call of community.
But he believes to his core that caring can not only be cathartic, it might just change the world.
Lee, I'm living for the hope that one day in the human race, some child is going to say, what's hate? And I'm living for that day.